I'd like to convene the Tri-City Council meeting for November 12th, 2025. I'd like to turn the time over to Andrew Laszlo for prayer.
Let's pray. Father, once again, we're gathered here, and Lord, just thankful that we have the freedom to meet together like this. Thankful that there are people who are willing to come out like this, share their ideas, listen to each other. Father, we ask that your Spirit and your grace be upon each person. Help the hearers hear with openness. Help them receive from each other. And Lord, at the end of the day, help us to receive from you. Let us feel that peace that comes from being in the agreement that God desires and blesses. Again, Lord, thank you for the leadership in this community. Welcome our new mayor, Lord. Let her feel your presence and your blessing. Let her make this entrance with the grace of God. For my friend Mike, Lord, let him feel your love and your blessing. As he transitions into another part of his life, let him know how much he's loved, and let him know that by the grace of God, the good seeds he's sown in our community will continue to bear good fruit. So again, Lord, thank you for this freedom. We ask your blessings be on all that we do here tonight. Let your will come to pass. Lord, we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. That's awesome. Okay, please join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to invite Tina Vanek, Councilmember-elect, to come forward and pick a ticket for the food drive that we had.
She's not like this is pick on Tina.
When you do good things, I'm going to recognize and give credit where credit's due. So, okay, so you want to explain what we're doing here? Like you did the workshop?
Of course. So, can I just face?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so some of us got together and we were thinking about doing a food drive. Well, first of all, it was going to be a pancake breakfast. And then it turned into a pancake breakfast food drive. And at the food drive, we went ahead and we also had just a little drawing with a few little gifts. And so we were able to we had between 250 and 300 people at the pancake breakfast. We were able to collect $198 that went straight to the food bank as well as over 1,500 pounds in donated food items that were able to be taken over to the food bank as well. So it was a great thing. We were really excited to do that with the community and be able to give back. And then some of the people who were able to participate and bring food, and because everybody's wanting to do something, and so it was a great way for so many different people and diversities and everything else to be able to do a little something, and a little bit makes a lot. So this is the drawing for the 3 little gifts that we had.
Okay. That was great. That's what I did. Is this for the first, third, what?
Well, which one do you want it to be?
Let's go with the, how many prices, 3?
So that one is a blanket, yep. Frank Krogman.
Okay, we'll have to find him.
It's an 801 number.
Phone numbers are on there. Okay.
Okay, so this one I know is a candle wax warmer with waxes. Richard Collum.
Nice.
And that was something really cool about it too, is we did see a lot of different and new faces. That was kind of awesome. David this is the Stormburst Go gun.
Roper? Daniel Roper? That's what it looks like, or Roy.
Yeah, it looks kind of like Daniel Roy or
Okay.
Roger or something.
And he has a phone number, 459. so-
Yeah, we can read the numbers, so.
Okay, nice, thank you, Tina. Okay, item 2, let the record show that we have council members are accounted for. Item 3, safety seconds, I'll turn the time over to Councilmember Christman.
Okay, November Safety Month is about winter driving awareness. Recently, daylight saving time took effect, so a lot of us are commuting in the dark, both directions in the morning and still at night. So with that, this visibility decreases and the risk of accidents increase. So, and also the colder temperatures, we're probably gonna have slick roads someday soon, maybe. So just some tips, slow down and increase your following distance. Icy roads mean longer stopping. Clear the snow and ice from your windows, mirrors, lights before driving. And scooter, that's a little more than this kind of a hole. Keep your headlights on to improve visibility for yourself and others. Check your tire pressure and always keep an emergency kit. I think folks in Carbon County are aware you can get stuck in that canyon for some extended lengths of time. So just make sure you have an emergency kit with you, including important items like a sandwich and things like that. So anyway, that's what I have for our tips.
Oh, thank you. One more item I'd like to put on the agenda is we have members of the University of Utah here to talk about carbon capture. I'm going to give you a moment here just to kind of introduce yourself and state your name for the record at the podium.
Okay,
And then we can talk to those that are here.
thank you. Is it okay with both of them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So, hello everybody, my name is Kate McGargle,
I'm Lazarus Adula.
and we're both researchers from the University of Utah, and we are part of a statewide project that has two parts. One part involves the Utah Geologic Survey, who is surveying the geology of the state to look for regions with high potential for capturing carbon and basically pumping it underground where it will no longer be interacting with the local and global atmosphere. Our purpose in that larger project is to interface with communities and invite people to participate in the research by giving a formal interview where we hope to have the conversation with you about your thoughts about carbon capture, understand what level of knowledge kind of generally people have about that, and then given some knowledge that we can offer, what some of your thoughts are about the idea of carbon capture technology being applied in communities like Price and the surrounding area. So I have some copies of a flyer here. I don't have quite enough for everybody in the room left, but there's some contact information I can leave with some folks. And if you are, I'll leave maybe some more on the desk there. If you're interested in participating in this research and having a conversation with Lazarus, or we have another staff member as well, it'll take about an hour. We can do it by phone or Zoom. And the purpose there is really to understand, how you all as community members living here, working here, think about this kind of thing. And this is, the intention of this type of research is to really include community voices in constructing the landscape of benefits that you might get from the application of such technology, and also to hear, if there are reasons or places that you'd rather avoid the application of this type of thing, to have that kind of on the ground floor as different levels of government, the state, the federal, the local, interface with this kind of thing. So that's who we are, that's what we're doing here, and and we can, happy to talk more after the meeting, and I'll just leave this stack of stuff on the table.
How often are you in Carbon County?
How often are we doing the research here? We are actually, this is a statewide project, and I don't believe we have any other visits to communities in Carbon County. We have, because of things that have happened with research over the last year or so, we're basically trying to do this interview project over the next 3 or 4 months and wrap it up with that. We'd be happy to come back at some point to share results, but yeah, this is kind of our primary visit to show our face and then invite people to contact us through phone and email.
And I mean, we're gonna go to so many other counties, so it's like, it's hard to be able to go to one county multiple times, right? Because we want to cover the whole state in some way.
The federal funding's been cut.
The funding for our project continues. We're ending mid-February, so we're hoping to accomplish these interviews kind of by then. Research on carbon capture more broadly is in a little mystery space in a lot of places. On this info sheet, you'll actually see, this info sheet was developed by the Utah Geologic Survey, so it actually speaks not just to our project, which is the first project listed here, but to a number of different projects. Lazarus is involved with a couple more than just this one, and they've, at the current moment, are put on hold. So yeah, at the moment, the funding is not happening, and that could also change in the future. Yeah. Cool. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, item 4A, USARA SLEEP OUT EVENT, consideration possible approval for permission and support to hold an all-night sleep out event, beginning organized in partnership with USARA. The event will take place from 4 p.m. the evening of Friday, January 30th, 2026 to 8 a.m. Saturday, January 31st. Oran's part of this, I thought I saw Oran. Oh, here you are, you can talk about it.
Yeah, hi, thank you for giving me some time. So I'm here on behalf of USARA as well as Life Balance Recovery and our local homelessness council to ask permission to close down a section of North 100 East here to the west of the Peace Garden for one night in January, Friday, January 30th. What we'd like to do is have we're calling it a sleep out. It's an all-night event, kind of a community festival, the point of which is to raise awareness and support for people in our area who are experiencing homelessness. It's also to support USARA in their mission to connect and inspire communities to advocate for addiction recovery. And we did this event for the first time this year in January, and it went really well. We probably had about 50 people attend throughout the evening, including Lane came at one point, and our law enforcement officers and some EMTs showed up to say hi. It was a really good time. We just thought it would be a good event to try to do once a year, every year in January. We do it in January because that is historically the coldest nights of the year, so it's giving people the opportunity to experience what it's like to be out on the street all night on the coldest nights of the year. And it's also a time of year when people tend to be more isolated, more lonely. There's not as much going on, so we thought this would be a good time to host a community building event. Here I've got maps that show the exact portion of the street that we're hoping to close off. And this would be an area where we would set up some tables and canopies, some games, that sort of thing, and with the option for people to set up a tent and actually camp out if they choose to. This year in January, we used the parking lot in front of USARA and Real Estate Titans. We had the whole event there, but there wasn't a lot of space, so we were hoping to increase our attendance this year. But if there was any concern about having tents in the street and people sleeping in the street, we could confine the tents to just the parking lot and then use the street for the activities, hoping to have some live music as well. So we're going to put up lighting and everything, but that's what I'm here for, is just to ask for permission and then support. I'm not sure really what the protocol is for getting a street closed down. Yeah, if you guys could help us with that, I would really appreciate it. Do you have any questions for me?
Sounds like a fun event.
Yeah.
How come I didn't know about this last year? Where was I last year? I don't know.
We'll try to do a better job advertising this year, and you all are welcome to attend as well.
I do have a comment. I really enjoyed the event last year. It didn't last, only about an hour. And as far as camping in the winter, I did that about 40 years ago with my wife. She will not camp with me again, because we camped in the winter and she froze and cried the whole night. So I won't bring her. I will come, but I just won't bring her with me.
Okay.
And I think if the road is sufficiently blocked off, I don't think there would be an issue if they left it in the street.
Yeah, just Jersey barriers or something, safety.
So there's a permit with the Public Works Department. You just fill out a little application of dates, times, location, and it's super easy.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
the
Miles
police-
right there. You can talk
The
to.
police department knows about it.
Okay, great. All right, I'll talk to them. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
So, any other questions? I'll ask for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the USARA Sleep Out Event.
I have a motion from Councilmember Willis, second from Councilmember Christman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item B, Division of Wildlife presentation. I'll turn the time over to Tanner to talk about it. And then you can introduce your guest.
We've invited Casey Olson from the division to give us a presentation on kind of hunting in general, as well as hunting on private property and within city limits. We had some questions rise this last year about hunting in city limits with adopting an ordinance. We had a few meetings with the division and a few council members and the mayor. And we've all kind of decided not to create an ordinance to ban hunting essentially, but to rather create this as an education opportunity for the community. So that's why we invited Casey to come and just kind of explain to us what the process is.
Casey, you want that light out so you and
Can everybody see that okay? Because they're very bright slides, so I don't think there'll be a problem that way. So, I'm Casey Olson. I'm a biologist with Division of Wildlife here in Price. I also have with me tonight, I have Brad Crompton, which is the assistant manager for the region, and also Lieutenant Abbott. That way, if there's any other questions, especially law enforcement side of stuff, Lieutenant Abbott can also help out as well. They're in attendance here tonight as well. Councilman Richardson approached us with Price City possibly wanting to create an ordinance to ban hunting. And we said we would be glad to give them all the information that we can give them, purely informational. We stay neutral because quite honestly, it's your guys' town and you guys can decide what you want to do. And that's what the council should be doing. So with that said, we did have a couple meetings, and this presentation kind of outlines how that meeting went a little bit. It kind of goes in depth a little bit deeper because I don't know who I'm playing to in the room. I don't know if everybody understands hunting a lot or not. So I kind of started it at a low level, and it may be overkill for some, but for some it may not. So hopefully that's where it is. Please, if you've got questions, stop me in between it. I'll gladly answer any questions that I can. And that goes for the council as well. So please go with that. So with that being said, in Utah, what types of game do we have? We have what we classify as small game, which includes upland game, which is your pheasants and your rabbits and turkeys and such. You have waterfowl, which are your migratory stuff, so that includes your ducks, your geese, but it also includes your mourning doves that you see in town all summer long. Now, don't confuse mourning doves with the collared Eurasian doves. Those Eurasian doves are invasive, same type of thing, but not regulated, okay? Then you have what's considered big game. So then you have your pronghorn, you have your deer, you have your elk, and then you start getting into your once in a lifetime stuff. Most of these you don't see in towns very often. We do occasionally see some moose. We don't see a lot of bighorn sheep. East Carbon gets to see some bighorn sheep sometimes. Not very many mountain goats at all, and I hope that we never see bison in town. We do on occasion see some mountain lions come through, and we also see some black bears come through, especially if things get a lot drier as you know, water dries up, fruit starts coming on trees. unfortunately, the human condition, we create a lot of garbage. And so they like that too as well. So you see that type of stuff go on. To be able to hunt inside Utah, which meaning Price City, to get a license, there's two ways about it. One, before you even get a license, you need to have had hunter's education. And what hunter's education is it's a course that's required by the state of Utah, and not just us, but a lot of states, let's just call it all of them, that to be able to hunt in that state, you've got to have, and it's a course design that teaches you about hunting, it teaches you about firearm safety, teaches you about all different types of firearms, teaches you about a little bit of archery, teaches you about game, teaches you about ecology a little bit, identification, all sorts of fun stuff that go into that course. Utah's, it used to be, everybody knows the hunter education program as the blue card, because they used to come on this really nifty blue card. They come on a card now, but it's not necessarily blue. So if you don't want to date anybody in the room, but if you're old enough, you've got a blue card. So it's still known kind of like that. To do the hunter education program, it used to be you had to be 12 years old. That requirement has now gone away. You can do this as long as you can take the course, you can pass the written test, you can pass the shooting portion, okay? So all that in place, so you could have, I've seen them as young as 5, I've heard them as young as 5, I've taught them as young as 7 and had them pass. That's a lot of involvement with parents, usually when you're talking 7-year-olds that are passing this test. So it all depends, but usually it seems around the 10, 11, 12 is where a lot of these start to engage a lot in. There's 2 types of courses. There's an online course or a traditional course. The traditional course, everybody that knows it as the blue card, probably went for about a month, like 1 day a week type thing, and then at the end of that month you took a final test and then took a shooting portion, and hopefully you passed and got your card. Now there's an online way of doing that, and you take an online course, they break it up into segments. It's designed to take anywhere from 4 to 8 hours depending on your speed of reading. It's designed more towards the younger crowd, towards kids, so that they will retain. I mean, it's kind of, I would like them to retain a lot of that information. So it's designed that way. And then at the end of that, then they have to report to us, or an instructor for that matter, to sign up for a field day where they go in and they do a little bit of ID and watch a couple of videos and then take another final test and then go for the shooting portion. So with that, that's how you get the hunter education. And once that requirement is fulfilled, then you can start buying a license or a permit, okay? The other way that that you can get into this is a program that came about a little while ago. It's called the Trial Hunting Program. It's designed for anybody that is over 12 and you're not quite certain if you want to be a hunter or not. But you have friends that are hunters and they have talked you into coming and having a good time out in the wilderness and hopefully harvesting and going about that. In order to do that, you're going to be taking a short online course in which you're going to be assigned a trial hunting number, okay? Also with that, once you get that, you'll be assigned the number, then you can buy your licenses. But to be able to use that, whether it be a permit or license for small game or big game or whatever, you have to be accompanied by an adult that's 21 as a mentor. Welcome to the trial hunting portion of it. And that is good for 3 years, up to 3 years. Okay, once at the end of that 3 years, if you decide that you want to continue it, or at any time during the middle of that, you can take your hunter's education and go from there, okay? So there's certain things that can be done with that. You can only purchase like a combination or a hunting license or a general season deer tag or an elk tag. You can't get into what's called the limited entry stuff, okay? They don't allow you to do that with them. You can also get bear or swan or stuff like that, okay? Types of permits and licenses. Okay, this is where it can get not confusing, but it's just think of one as a precursor to the other. To do anything in the state of Utah, you need to have a hunting license. That allows a person to be able to take small game. So remember, that's all your ducks, your geese, your rabbits, your grouse, your pheasants, stuff like that, okay? That gets you that portion of it. But to be able to, or you can get what's called a combination license, which is you're doubling down for your money almost, okay? So that gets you a fishing license in the state, plus the small game hunting license, okay? So that's what that gets, okay? But to be able to hunt certain species, so like all your big game or your once in a lifetime stuff, those all are permits. And to be able or eligible to buy a permit or to put in for a draw for the permit, you have to have a hunting license first, okay? That's how that goes. So that would be for your deer, your elk, but it also goes for like swan, it also goes for sage grouse, bears, stuff like that, that you require a secondary permit for, okay? So those are the types of permits. I think it goes without saying, to be eligible to hunt small game, you've got to have the hunter education or the trail number, and then you got to buy that hunting license or the combination license, okay? For big game, you need a hunting license, so you need your hunter ed, a trial number, the hunting license or the combination license, and then you're putting in or buying an over-the-counter permit for whichever species that be, whether it be deer or elk, whatever it be, okay? The once-in-a-lifetime stuff is all done in a draw, okay, and that's all done in March. So we're not really worrying about that so much inside the city limits hunting. Okay, that leads me into kind of getting into the definitions of a little bit of stuff. Archery, essentially bow and arrow. Everybody understands what archery is a little bit here, okay? The rules that really get down into the nitty-gritty of what is required inside of a bow, which means the draw weight, the broadhead size, all that type of stuff can be found in that rule, that R 657-5-11 rule, as well as most of these others are in that 657-5 rule, okay? Muzzleloaders are the same thing. Muzzleloaders are a firearm, okay? And that's a rifle basically that you're dumping the powder down the barrel, you're putting a bullet in, you're ramming the bullet down in there, you're then putting a primer, whether that be a percussion cap or 209 primer, or even if it's a flintlock, okay? At that point, that's what denotes a muzzleloader. It's only capable of being fired once, and those bullets are being loaded from the breech down, okay? Now comes what's called an illegal weapon. And that's what your general season normally is any legal weapon. That, in fact, if you was to look at your deer permit, it says any legal weapon on it, okay? And that's because in certain instances, in an illegal weapon hunt, you can use a crossbow, you can use a handgun, you can use a shotgun, you could even use a muzzleloader during that, and you can also even use archery equipment during an illegal weapon hunt, okay? And that'll come into play here in a second when I start describing some of the scenarios that inside the city will come to play. So all those definitions, if you were looking for more, are inside the guidebook, and they'll help you get there. Okay. This has a lot to play with inside city limits. Illegal discharge of a weapon or trespass, okay? Inside, well, it's not just city limits, it's anywhere. So, Class B, you cannot just Utah Code 76-10-508. You cannot discharge a weapon within 600 feet of a dwelling or building without the written permission of a property owner. Okay, so that's not just meaning just inside the city, that's meaning out in the county as well. Okay, you cannot be close to homes unless you have been given written permission by the person that owns it. Okay, that's the only way that can happen. The other side of this too is kind of dealing with the trespass side of this, and Utah Code 23A-5-317, is while taking wildlife or engaging in wildlife-related activities, a person may not, without permission, enter upon privately owned land that is cultivated or properly posted. Enter or remain on privately owned land if that person has notice or to not enter or to remain on the privately owned ground. So that means like if I was on your front lawn and you came and told me to get off, I have to get off. That's what that means. Obstruction and entrance or exit into the private property means I can't park in front of your driveway. Okay, so that's what that all means. So when we had this meeting, I found it easiest to kind of break down from the beginning of how a scenario may play out. So I'm gonna just give you a couple examples. So Joe Smith has a valid archery permit for the 9-mile unit, which is the unit which Price City resides in. Okay, and he has a buck deer that is inhabiting his lawn on the daily. Okay, Joe can legally harvest this deer on his property with archery equipment because there's an exemption in the dangerous weapons definition regarding archery, allowing him to use his archery equipment without having the permission of the surrounding homes within 600 feet. Meaning, I can shoot right next to your home, no problems, no questions asked. Okay, and that's just the way that the state law is written right now for that. Okay? If the deer runs off of his property and onto, say, Blanche Parker's lawn and expires there, Joe now needs to go and get permission from Blanche to be able to retrieve that deer. Okay? Blanche can either say, yep, go get it, or she can say, nope, you're not going to go get it. And at which point, then Blanche can call the Division of Wildlife and we come and get the deer. Joe does not get the deer at that point. Okay?
And then what do you do with it from there?
Depending on how long it has sat there or anything like that, it may be donated out. It would could be donated out at that point, or it may end up in the landfill. Just long and short of it. It depends on what happens. Okay. Scenario B. Going to use a little bit of a different guy. So Max Payne has a valid 9-mile general season in illegal weapon permit. And he has a buck in his yard on the daily again. Max has 2 options currently. Okay, to use a firearm, that means whether he's going to use a handgun, shotgun, muzzleloader, rifle, whatever that be, he needs to go around from where he's going to shoot from, and within that 600-foot radius, so 200 yards all the way around, that's a lot of homes, that he's going to need to get permission from each and every one of them to be able to use it. I would sure hope that somewhere, somebody in there has the wherewithal to say, you shouldn't be shooting a firearm in town.
Question.
Go
Does
ahead.
that permission have to be in writing or
Yes.
just verbal?
Writing. Yep, it has to be written permission. Okay? And so, and what that does is, makes it a little bit easier for, say, your police officers or one of our officers or whoever, because as soon as that gun goes off, somebody's going to be calling, guarantee it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? It just proves to them of, hey, because it's not their job to chase down whether you got the permission or not. Okay? So that's how that plays out. Okay? So there's that scenario of it. But, again, with archery equipment, which can be used during an illegal weapons hunt, they do not need to have permission. Okay? They can just do it right then and there. Go ahead.
You said it has to be outside of 200 yards, or you said something about with the archery equipment, you still have that 200,
No, with archery equipment,
600-foot circle, I
the
thought.
archery equipment does not apply to that. It's only with firearms.
So what about the ordinance for the law of discharging a firearm in city limits? There are some exceptions, but I don't think hunting is one.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with what your ordinance is on that. I'm assuming that you're regarding, like, if one of your officers had to put down an injured deer, or if one of our officers had to do an injured
Yeah,
deer.
and shooting ranges, there's some
Something-
exceptions to it.
something
but
to that.
Generally,
Usually,
it's illegal in Price City to discharge a firearm
It's illegal.
So
It's illegal.
that's some things that can be misleading
Yes.
to a hunter that wants to stay legal.
Correct. Yeah. So there's things that, like that are in play here. But from this,
From the GW.
Correct.
The regulation standpoint, I
Yes.
guess I understand.
yes. So that's the two ways that he could do it with an illegal weapons tag. Okay? So there's that. Like I say, this is purely an informational thing for them to decide, or for you guys as a community to decide what's best for the community. The other side to this is, because it was brought up that there are people that sometimes get upset with deer eating a garden, or their shrubbery, or their flowers, okay? There is such a program that the state cooperates with the city in what's called the Urban Deer Hunting Program. And it's where the city can apply to basically hold their own season for deer inside city limits. First, you have to have an application, you have to meet certain parameters, all of which I'm fairly certain that Price City would meet. The first parameter is over 1,000 residents, obviously got that in spades. Must have a $1 million insurance policy. I guarantee you your umbrella covers that as well. And the city must pass a no feeding big game ordinance and enforce it at that point. So that would be the one that you guys would have to take that ordinance through the public process and get that passed before being eligible to apply for that, for the urban deer program like that. If that were to happen, and that was still an option that they wanted to proceed with, obviously fill out the application. Then with our guidance and requirements, we design a season with them and tell them, okay, this is what you can do. But there's certain requirements once that is in there, once the season is rolling, like there won't be any deer after October 15th because you have deer that are migrating. You don't have, this is designed to deal with residential deer, not migrants. Harvested deer will be CWD tested by the city, okay? You pull, we train you guys how to pull the samples. You turn the samples over to us and then we get them tested. Antlers. Antlers are not the property of who gets the deer. They are surrendered back to the state. Okay, so it's not, this isn't designed to be a trophy hunt. Okay, it's designed to solve a problem. Okay. So
One more question. So would we be able to designate the area, or would it be the entire city limits?
You would be able to designate the area. That's one of those things that we work with.
So where the problem is, you.
Yes, yes, and we also work with you. I've got so Farron is in it, Castledale is in it, and so is Huntington. They all have one of these. Farron elected to use trapping and such like that to affect their means. With this program, it's all lethal removal. It is not a trap and relocate. Okay, there's none of that going on. So, but they chose to do the trapping aspect of it, which they rapidly found out is very, very hard to do, and they have yet to get one. Castledale has had a better run of it. They utilize archery hunters to do the harvest, and they've gotten a couple that way. Huntington, I don't know if they had a change of heart or a change of leadership or what. Regardless, they haven't turned in one yet either. So there's that. The other question that came up during this during our meetings was roughly why can't we capture and relocate? The Utah Statewide Deer Management Plan states that the UDDR should not allow for the import of free-ranging or captive deer, free-ranging elk, or free-ranging or captive moose. Yeah, we have previously translocated cervids, so pretty much all those that I just mentioned within the state from areas considered free of CWD. Unfortunately, now there's pretty much not an area that hasn't tested positive with CWD. There's a lot of areas that are higher prevalence, Moab being one of them, where there's a lot, versus around here, very, very, very few, but it's still a positive area, okay? There's other exceptions to that rule, and you would understand why we moved one earlier this summer. Moose inside a town like this can get very dangerous. Okay, so that's the only exception, and it's more of a public safety aspect at that point to remove the moose and get it back up into the hills where it belongs. Okay. Go ahead.
One question. If you said if it goes in another backyard, that it has to get permission there. What if it jumps the fence and ends up on the state highway or a city road or whatever? Whose is it then?
You mean who would they ask to go and get it?
Well, what does the person who shot the deer originally, I mean, let's say it jumps onto Carbon Avenue, then,
And then expired right there?
yes.
JD?
If he can legally access where the deer's at, he can go get it.
Okay.
So, and that's Lieutenant Abbott, that's our law enforcement. Okay. So, any other questions? That's kind of an overview, and that's kind of when we did our little working group, how I kind of broke it down to them. This is kind of where we're at. This is what you got. Did you have a question?
I used to hunt deer, but CWD, what determines whether it's good or bad area or good or bad year on that?
So CWD is just chronic wasteless disease.
Right.
So it's not whether it's a good or bad year or good or bad area so much. It's once it's there, it's pretty much there in that area. At that point, we start to monitor prevalency rate, meaning if it's increasing or whether it's kind of staying status quo and not doing too much. Like I say, around here, it's pretty much status quo and staying very, very low. And there's other areas in the state that are just like that too. But there's also areas kind of like Moab where it's a little bit higher, and we just monitor it to see where it is, because once it gets to a certain stage, it may trigger other management techniques like a colon removal or something to that, where to try and push those numbers back down. So, thank you.
So this is for the council. Are you guys still thinking of moving into kind of a hunting ban inside of the city? And who is going to enforce those ordinances? Are our local police officers going to be enforcing those? Are they going to understand 23A5 321 on interfering with hunting? Is this something you're going to have to train them on? Are they going to need extra training for this if we're going to institute something like that?
I think we talked about the fact that right now it is not a big problem within our community, and with that, we're not looking to put new regulations in place unless it becomes a problem. We thought we would address it with education first and go from there. And if education doesn't, it becomes a problem, then we'll have to relook at the situation. But I think right now, we've just talked about educating the public, and that's what this was about.
Educating us too.
Yeah, and educating us. So.
Interagency cooperation, even now, if Price City Police Officer has one of those questions, like Lieutenant Abbott and his staff are readily available, usually at midnight when you want them to get a dead deer off the road, but yeah, so there's not a wall there. It's just the cooperation is already there. If a Price City Officer does not understand it, there's a plethora of resource available.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Casey.
I've got one question though. What kind of legal recourse is there for somebody who does trespass onto your property and retrieve an animal that crossed over onto your property without your permission and then they retrieved it? Is that just a trespassing? Does it cross over into criminal trespassing? What is it?
Go ahead, JD.
It falls under unlawful taking while trespassing.
Okay.
And so they're cited for the trespass and the animal seized at that point.
And that's just unlawful taking while
While
trespassing.
trespassing. It's a separate code, it's under the wildlife code, does criminal trespass. It's-
Okay.
So if it's anything.
But if it was posted, would it move to the level of criminal trespass? No?
If it has any hunting involvement, it'll stay under that.
Oh,
That's why it's hunting while trespassing.
okay.
Well, that brings up one other point. What if he misses? And hits you, or damages your home, or whatever? What's your recourse there?
And honestly, I don't think that's a question for me, if that makes sense.
No, it
Just
does.
because it's, at that point, it's outside of.
What you guys do.
Exactly, yeah. So as Casey had talked about, when they go through that course, they should know their backstop, they should know what's behind
Yeah, I
and
mean,
beyond.
I have a blue card.
They should know all of that stuff, right? It's not
Yeah.
to say that it couldn't happen,
Yeah.
but at that point, it turns into something different that's non-hunting related.
All right.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Feel free to reach back out if you've got other questions. Tanner knows how to get hold of us. Pretty good.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item C, take pride in prize recognition. There is no awards at this time to the council. Public hearing to receive input regarding the purchase power adjustment clause. The chair will ask for a motion to go to an open meeting, public meeting. I have a motion from Councilmember Jesperson. Second from Councilmember Miller. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5:53. Okay, Nick, I'm going to turn the time over to you for a presentation.
All right, thank you, Mayor. As many of you have already received, the overview on this is the electric committee received some information from a consulting firm, had a list of recommendations in it, some of which didn't seem to make sense. This one did. That group explored it, did some analysis, and the concept is this is a more efficient, it's an alternative to increasing rates with the utility. To say if you have a spike in energy or a spike in dollars or both, that spike would be spread over the entire following year. And that's really in a nutshell what that would do. The test case cost impact, about 750 kilowatts of usage for an average home, be about between $1.50 and $2 is what that would be. The resolution also indicates that the funds, any funds collected from that program must remain within the utility for capital projects, transformers, wires, poles. Lisa could probably speak to the financial detail of how that actually works, but that's really the overview. We've all had the resolution for a while, talking points for a month or so. We'd also point out the effective date would be July 1st, the budget year, and that also allows for some of the annual program with the energy costs to be determined in the spring.
Nick, would you speak a little bit to how frequently we see the spikes and some of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so price sees a pretty substantial run up, and it's quite weather dependent. Generally July, August, September timeframe, even into October, will be a spike area. We do also see a winter spike, December, January, when everybody's inside with everything turned on. Not near as much as in the summer.
Okay.
So it does happen pretty much every year, and you know, the severity is dependent upon the actual use and or the market conditions that you have to buy the energy to meet those peak demands.
So are we talking $100 spike, several $1,000 spike?
Oh, tens of thousands,
Okay.
many tens of thousands of dollars.
All right. Good.
So sometimes those spikes, the cost of energy could be, it's been a couple of years since it's been, you know, pushing the $1,000 range. It's not uncommon to see $250, $400, even the $500, $600 for some of the, what they call the super peak moments.
Because we're buying power then on the market when everybody else is buying power.
Yeah, supply and demand issue.
So there was a test period, I don't know what the spike was that the test was based on, but it simply amounted to $22.32 per year for a residential.
Yeah, so about that $1.80 or so a month.
Yeah.
Results in that, and that.
So even though, you know, you throw out big numbers of the cost of the spike, when it gets spread out, at least for that test period,
Right, so instead of raising, you know, having a rate increase for that real narrow spike in the curves, it could amount to, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. What this does is it just takes that amount, puts it, spreads it through the entire year to keep that from being.
So that would be like, somebody would, you know, if we didn't do it, somebody could get a utility bill that they couldn't pay and get their power shut off in the middle of the summer with a spike. And then, but if we're spreading it out, it's like.
so manageable, so something.
Manageable.
Yeah.
Right, keeps it manageable.
Yeah, so that,
Right.
yeah, really what it does is it's an alternative to any rate increases. It's been right around 2.5 years since there was any rate adjustments. This committee is also not recommending any rate adjustments in the rates, but they need to install it's called the purchase power adjustment.
That's the concern, residential.
So we do have an open public meeting, if anybody has anything that they wanna,
About this is what.
yeah, about this, about the rate.
Rate increase.
What is the purchase power? How does it affect us?
Could you come to the podium and state your name?
I don't understand the purchase power and how this raise will affect us individually. So we're saying $1.80 a month?
Well,
That's what-
most of the time we have our power pre-purchase, we understand what we're going to be buying to power the city. In the summer, when we get those heat things, suddenly we have a more demand than we are normally purchasing. But we
The
have to
spikes.
go to the spot market and cover that power.
Oh, okay.
And so that power is very much more expensive than what we tend to buy. So then people's rates could just spike up in that month. And that happens mostly in the summer, but as he said, occasionally in the winter, if we have a very big cold snap and everybody's got things running. So then this would, instead of just saying, okay, we'll all pay for it when we need it in July, we're gonna spread it out through the year, kind of like an equal pay program. To take this, to take the burden off of those spike times.
So for each household, it
Yes.
will go up?
Yeah.
It'll be based on the amount of usage. So if you're, you know,
Yeah,
if
so
you
the
have a real
dollar
high
increase
usage.
was just.
If you're the mayor and you have the equivalent of 2 houses worth of electricity every month, it's gonna be more than the rest.
So this is more electricity, not gas?
Oh,
This is all
This is just electricity, yeah.
But- Thank you.
Thank you.
But the cost of the gas markets.
Mike Garuli. So,
You're supposed to do this,
I'm kicking stuff. So, question for you. On those years, you were talking about if we had extra surplus of money because you're going to do it on the next year. Where does that money go? Who decides where that money's going to go? Is it just, we have an aging infrastructure inside of this town that needs repair. who gets to decide what is the fire and what isn't the fire? Where do we put that money if there is a surplus?
When I mentioned the committed funds, that's what that part of that does, is it requires that any of this revenue stays in the electric utility for those purposes.
So, but where do we, I mean, we're failing all over this town. I used to work with a power company, and we're behind, we're way behind on the maintenance that needs to be done. So where do we start troubleshooting those spots and making sure that the money is going to those spots first? And is there a potential for enough to be able to handle some of these things? Because as our structures are getting older and older, is this something that we need to start looking at preactively rather than reactive? We're reacting to a lot of the stuff that's failing when we should be looking into what we could be doing in the future to upgrade our systems.
I can get you the list of the projects, and Steve's done a lot of preventative maintenance. Yeah, there is some reactive, but it's able to, this allows it to move into the preventative as well. One of the big issues is the substation transformers and the methodology to have backup that way.
And at what portion are we buying the unit or the extra money for? So if the shortcomings, if this year's spike was smaller than the next year, does it just keep going up?
No, it would adjust.
It would adjust.
It would adjust, yeah. I mean, it's the test to Mr. Christman's went to test year. Showed about that $1.86 or 87 on the list there. The first implementation year would be a year later, because we're a year later, has been a little less of a demanding year on the system. So it might even be to the lower end of that. You know, that math might turn out to be $1.50, $1.60 rather than $1.80. But no, it would adjust once a year.
Okay, thank you.
So, David Guruli, I just had a quick question. So, just to clarify, does that excess, if there is an excess, does it get rolled over for purchasing for the spikes, or it gets earmarked for infrastructure improvements if there's excess? For the power lines, right. I understand that part.
It could be both, but the infrastructure part of it will use it all up.
Okay, so it's not for rollover, it's going to go into infrastructure, that's the plan?
Yeah, and you know, and then there's a situation where you could save up a couple of years worth of revenue to do a bigger project or something like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the funds are restricted and they don't get transferred into the general fund. They're restricted to the utility.
Okay. The chair will ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved at 6:04.
I have a motion from Councilmember Willis and a second from Councilmember Richardson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item E, resolution number 2025-25, consideration and possible approval of a resolution establishing Price City purchase power cost adjustment clause and related matters.
I move we approve resolution number 2025-25.
I have a motion from Councilmember Miller.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Christman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item F, notice of award, project 12C-2023, Canal Crossing, Carbon Avenue, consideration and possible approval of a notice of the award to Allred Construction, the lowest bidder, for $378,706. Six total bids were received, ranging from $378,706 to $763,820. Miles, do you want to talk about it, or James, or Daniel, or anybody?
Well, maybe I'll start if they have something to pipe into. Of the 6 bids, 2 of them were under the engineer's estimate of about $425,000. The rest of them were above that number. So we were happy to get a couple of bids below that number. It was great. Allred was the lowest bid, of course, and so we're going with them. We're recommending go with them. We've worked with them before, the city, and they're a reputable company.
Good. You guys have any comments?
Nothing additional there. They're ready to roll, I know that.
Yeah, painstakingly submitted to me, I figured I'd give you a chance to talk.
And they're local too, Mayor, aren't they?
Yeah, they're out of every county.
And this project has to be constructed through the winter when there is no water in the canal, so we'll be started as soon as we get things done.
Unfortunately, it's gonna have impact traffic for Mount Arma, but we'll work around that as best we can.
Okay, the chair will ask for a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the award of the canal crossing to All Red Construction lowest bidder.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Willis, a second from Councilmember Jesperson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, motion carries. Item G, Agreement Project 12C-2023 Canal Crossing Replacement at Carbon Avenue. Consideration and possible approval of an agreement with All Red Construction for $378,706 to complete the project according to design and specifications provided in the city's bid process. Any discussion? Chair will ask for a motion.
I move we approve the agreement that we've been talking about.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Miller, second from Councilmember Christman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye. You said aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 5 consent agenda. Any items that we need to discuss? Okay, Chair will ask for a motion.
I move we approve agenda items A through E.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Miller, second from Councilmember Richardson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, public comment. Seeing none, the chair will ask any unfinished business. Chair will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilmember Willis and a second from Councilmember Jesperson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned at 6:08. Where is she at?